Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a family of 5 is left with nothing after Sunday's winds tore through their community. And we go to Frankfort, where some changes have been made to the governor's daily COVID-19 updates after protests earlier this week. And we give you the latest on the ongoing struggle to make sure all eligible folks are getting their much-needed unemployment checks.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. My name is Lacey Roberts, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. It is 6 o'clock, and it is Friday. We have made it through the week. I know it's just been going into each other, but now it's finally here. Let's bring in Brandon Robinson. I know we were missing you a little bit earlier, but now that you're back with us, you can let us know how that weekend is going to turn out.
Technology, you gotta love it, Lacey. But yes, this morning things are a little bit on the cooler side for some, not so much for others, but it is going to be a beautiful start to the day. Let's take a look at our hazard camera here at 6 o'clock, and you'll see daylight getting ready to break. I was driving in earlier and got to see a few stars in the sky there, so that's some good news to start the day. But unfortunately, those clouds are moving pretty fast as we head deeper into the afternoon. Temperatures right now, low 30s to Harlan, Middlesboro, out toward Jonesville, but 40s, low 40s there. Moorhead, Jackson, Hazard, and Pikeville this morning. So a big change in some areas. Either way, it could be anywhere between 5-10 degrees cold or warmer and a few degrees colder in some spots this morning. So a little extra on the coffee meter just because we're kind of in that intermediate range there. Your weather app forecast, sun and clouds for a while, and then we'll see possibilities for some cloudy skies and rain chances as we head deeper into the evening overnight. 68 though for a forecast high. Can't beat that for today. I'll have the rest of the forecast here in a little bit. Lacey.
Thank you, Brandon. And power outages are still a problem here in the mountains this morning. Thousands of people remain without power after those windstorms on Sunday night. Kentucky Power and other utility crews have been working nonstop to restore electricity. Now, people in Leslie, Knott, and Perry, and Pike counties all were hit hard when hurricane-force winds passed through. And at last check, Kentucky Power's website showed just around 8,000 customers are still without power. And we are still seeing more and more damage left behind from Sunday's wind storms, and some may not have power until Sunday. But in Letcher County, one family is not focused on getting power, but finding a new home. WYMT's Connor James talked with them earlier and has more.
The high winds that tore through the mountains left widespread damage but took no lives.
Yeah, I thank God we weren't there.
That's Rachel Sizemore. Sunday night winds howled outside her home.
I could hear the wind coming through the walls. I mean, I could just hear it. And I opened the door and looked out and listened, and it sounded like a train coming through the hills.
It was that noise that prompted the family to leave. This is what they came back to.
We lost everything. It threw wood out my daughter's room. It destroyed everything my little ones had. Toys, diapers, clothes.
The family is already financially struggling, having to pick between home and truck insurance. They chose the latter.
We didn't think nothing like this would ever happen, so we chose truck insurance.
Living here for 15 years, they have 3 kids. The oldest is 12, the youngest only 4 months old. They've hunkered down here the past month amid the pandemic.
My husband's severe asthma, and I have high blood pressure, which is hypertension. So during the coronavirus, we stayed home. And to know that we don't have safety anymore, my kids don't have a home.
They're living with a friend as they try to figure out what to do next. But through it all,
yeah,
very blessed because
still got all of our lives.
My little kids would have been killed.
They're still thankful they're together. In Letcher County, Connor James, WYMT Mountain News.
And with that cleanup from Sunday's windstorms still going on, fewer people spent last night in the dark. Less than 9,000 Kentucky Power customers are without electricity now. The wind knocked out power all across Perry County, and one of the hardest hit areas was Skyline Drive leading up to the old Citadel Motel. As families work to get their trees removed, the crews that are tasked with doing the work are pulling long hours.
I'm going to have to top them right here where the limbs come and bring them down from the bottom of that part and then hook onto them and pull everything out of the mountains down here and haul it off. It's a bad job, but somebody's got to do it. Jobs like this can cost into the thousands and take days to even finish.
And Governor Andy Beshear held a quieter news conference last night. 159 new cases of COVID-19 were reported, and one case is a 10-day-old baby in Lincoln County. That brings the total to 2,429. 7 more deaths were also reported, bringing the death toll to 129. The governor announced 4 new testing sites will be opened next week, including 2 in our area, Somerset and Pikeville. He also says he expects today to be one of Kentucky's largest day of new cases. He says part of that has to do with an increase in testing. And hundreds of protesters converged on the Capitol grounds in Frankfort on Wednesday to advocate for reopening Kentucky's businesses amid this COVID-19 outbreak. But those protests brought few changes to the Capitol grounds. Nick Oliver has more.
The changes to the Capitol are some that are impossible not to notice. Caution tape blocking off half the lawn and barriers around the room where Governor Andy Beshear gives his daily update. On the inside, thick foam added to drown out any possible noise. But the biggest, protesters now forced to remain in their vehicles in a designated area nowhere near the governor.
This is a really difficult tension between people's rights to gather and people's right to not be hurt. And it's tough. But the mass gathering that happened yesterday is exactly the kind of mass gathering that we have public health orders that say are prohibited right now.
24 hours later, no crowd but a few stragglers.
Put us back to work. Get the machine going again.
Joseph Sullivan from Georgetown came to see if anyone was like him and fed up. He didn't find many at the Capitol, but says the changes are another step too far.
I just thought it was a ridiculous ploy. I don't know. Yeah, I don't see the sense in it. What statement are they trying to claim?
Out of the few protesters that were here today, they say while they can't pass this caution tape and they aren't able to go up to the window of Governor Andy Beshear's press briefing room and scream through it, they say they don't need any of that anyways. They say the governor will still be able to hear their message.
People are finally stepping up and saying enough's enough. You know, I love what they're doing in Michigan and Lansing, and it needs to spread to all the states. We need to tell these politicians, you work for us. It's time to sit down. Let us go back to doing our jobs.
At the Capitol, Nick Oliver, WYMT Mountain News.
Kentucky State Police had dozens of troopers standing by during the governor's briefing last night, and leaders say they will be enforcing the rules. Now, many Kentuckians, especially those out of work, are just wondering when they can return back to their lives and their normal incomes. And it's been particularly hard for people having trouble filing for unemployment. Now, those filing for unemployment, Governor Andy Beshear told Bill Bryant on WKYT that the state is working to make sure people get those unemployment checks. With more than 500,000 unemployment claims in the last month, Beshear says Kentucky's system is dealing with something it has never had to face before.
But to everybody out there who hasn't been helped yet, you're right. It's taking too long. You are in a place where you need the help and you need it now, and I will take responsibility for that. Now, if you've been waiting, that's on us, and we're going to continue to work to fix it day in and day out.
He says the call center staff has jumped from 12 employees to 1,000. And a coronavirus relief bill that would have put some Kentuckians back to work failed to pass in Kentucky's General Assembly. The legislative session wrapped up on Wednesday, and Senate Bill 136 would have allowed chiropractors to reopen. It would have also required licensing boards to present Governor Beshear with a plan for starting to reopen Kentucky's economy. And they're calling it Restart Kentucky. The Kentucky Chamber of Commerce is planning a series of talks with leaders in public health and businesses to discuss how to get the state back to work. Victor Puente talked to Chamber President about the details in that plan.
A state of emergency has been in place here in Kentucky for more than a month. Based on the number of new COVID cases, those efforts seem to be working, but it's taken a toll on the state's economy. While some want an immediate change, the president of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce says that plan needs to be a thorough one.
We do want Kentucky, obviously, to eventually be reopened for business, but we know it's going to take some time. And so with that, we think there needs to be planning that goes in along with it.
More than 500,000 Kentuckians have filed for unemployment over the last month, and businesses across the state have made sacrifices.
And shutting down and abiding by the new laws, donating their resources and their PPEs. But it's time that we now try to plan a path forward for them and what that looks like.
The effects of employers like Toyota shutting down have rippled across the state, with many suppliers also closing temporarily. Yesterday, Governor Beshear said he had been talking to neighboring governors about getting businesses back up and running. The chamber has been doing the same.
We've been working with other chambers of commerce across the nation to kind of swap ideas, see what they're doing, find best practices.
Starting next week, they'll be hosting web seminars. The first two are with public health leaders and economists. Following weeks will include educators and hospital administrators. They hope those talks can help with their plan called Restart Kentucky. They know once business does resume, it won't be as usual, but hopefully will be as soon as safely possible.
To make sure that when the workforce does return to work, we do it in the safest way possible. And I think the reality is that it's going to look a little different than it did before.
In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
The Chamber's website also has a section highlighting businesses that are still hiring, such as Amazon and grocery stores.
Well, the forecast this morning, pretty quiet across the region for now. Let's take a look at the satellite and radar picture, and you'll see a few more clouds that will start to drift in a little bit later today, already trying in some of those northern and western counties, but this morning, all quiet still. Temperatures is where the clouds are trying to drift in a little warmer. 40 Irvin, 41 Moorhead, 41 Jackson, Hazard, Pikeville as well, but some low 30s down toward Jonesville, Harlan, and Middlesboro this morning, and some mid 30s down toward I-75 and Lake Cumberland. 68 today, as we'll see more clouds build in heading deeper into the day, and stray chances for rain about 7 o'clock, and then it will really pick up as the cold front comes through overnight. Lacey?
Thank you, Brandon. And thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. Coming up, President Trump has also unveiled guidelines to reopen the United States, but that plan may look different depending on where you live.